New Relic Infrastructure lets you see what's happening on your application servers in real time, showing you key performance metrics like CPU and memory usage, which processes are running, and even events like user logins and package deployments. So let's see how we can use this information to troubleshoot an application performance problem. Here we're looking at our New Relic Pet Clinic application, and we can see that things were running pretty well for a while, and then all of a sudden about here, we had a response time spike. And if we look at the throughput chart, we don't see a corresponding increase in throughput, so the slow response time is not necessarily due to heavy load on the application. Let's scroll down and look at our hosts. At the bottom of this screen, we can see that the application is running on 3 servers. And at first glance, it doesn't appear that anything is out of the ordinary. They all look to be doing about the same amount of work. We can see that this host has a slightly lower apdex score than the other 2. But I like to switch to this view, which instead of showing me a table of host names, it shows me a table of metrics. So I have a chart for response time, throughput, CPU usage, and memory, where each line on the chart represents one of my hosts. And now it's very easy to see that this host is having the higher response time, and at that same period of time it has a reduction in throughput and a reduction in CPU usage for this application. So that tells me that something on that host is stealing cycles from my app and causing it to have a higher response time and be able to process fewer requests. So let's switch over to infrastructure and see if we can figure out what's going on. So here we are in New Relic Infrastructure looking at that same time window, and it was our New Relic Pet Clinic application that had the problem. So let's switch to a filter set that just includes the 3 hosts running our Pet Clinic application. I'll select that filter set. And now we can see that for those 3 hosts, there was indeed a spike in CPU usage during that period of time. There was an increase in CPU load. Those are instructions in the pipeline waiting to get to the CPU. And if we look at the very bottom of this dashboard, we can see that, in fact, it was New Relic Pet Clinic 1. It was that instance of our application that had the spike in response time. Now going back to the top of the dashboard, we can see that there were a couple of events on this set of servers. Events include users logging in and out, deploying packages or updating packages. So let's see what these events tell us. I'm going to go to the end of this period of time and click on the blue square. And that will include both of the events that we see above. So we can see at 1:01 p.m. user P. Weber connected to this host. And at 1:12 p.m. he disconnected. So now we know who to blame. We could go ask P. Weber, what did you do from 1:01 to 1:12? But let's see if we can figure that out. Let's see, there are 3 hosts running our Pet Clinic application. Let's group this data by host name so we can figure out which host we want to look at. So I'm going to select group by and then group by host name. And now we can see our 3 hosts, and this blue one, which is IP 172.312.177, is the one that maxed out its CPU time, and that is also the one down below that corresponds to our increased response time for Pet Clinic 1. So now let's switch over to the processes dashboard and see what was running on this server during this time. I'm going to look at my 3 host names and pick the one that was having the high CPU usage. That was our Pet Clinic 1 server. I'm going to filter to that host. So now this dashboard is just showing me which processes were running on this specific host name. And I can even group by process display name, so that if there were multiple instances of a process, it only shows up once on the chart. Okay, so here is our application, the Java process, and we can see that it had a reduction in CPU usage because the blue process, which is called Yes, was stealing 24.2% of our available CPU cycles. So here's what we know. P. Weber logged onto the box at 1:01 p.m. He ran 3 instances of Yes, which consumed 24.2% of the CPU, which reduced the CPU cycles available to our Java application, causing an increase in response time. Now, in real life, the process would not be Yes. I ran that just to generate some load on the server, but in real life, it might be a cron job or a scheduled task that you've forgotten about, or maybe the user's on the box doing some work, and it causes your application to slow down. So in this video, we've seen how you can use New Relic Infrastructure to see what's going on your hosts that may have an impact on the performance of your application.